This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. The scorching heat we've had in recent days has left Winnipeg families looking for ways to stay cool. In many parts of our city, splash pads offer kids and their parents a break from the heat. But in one inner city neighborhood, it will be weeks still before the taps turn on. As CBC's Cameron McLean reports, that has some families feeling burnt out.
It's one of the earliest signs of summer, kids running through water on a blazing hot day. But here at the Norquay Community Centre in Point Douglas, not a drop. Hannah Waite and Trenton Harper came by with their son Jamie, hoping to enjoy some time under the spray.
No other splash pads are close by besides that one.
It's really a bummer because we come by here every day on the way to the store, hoping that we could stop by here on the way back from the store, but no, nothing recently.
The city says the Norquay facility is a wading pool with spray features, not a standalone spray pad. Wading pools need lifeguards, spray pads don't. Wading pools are scheduled to open July 1st, but people in Point Douglas are wondering why other communities have spray pads and theirs doesn't. Diane DeZormo-Wright says many people in the community don't have air conditioning.
Other communities that are maybe have richer, economy, have these facilities open already, and us being in North Point Douglas, we don't. It's a double standard to me.
Many people in the neighborhood also don't have vehicles to drive to spray pads in other areas. One mother who lives nearby wonders if a compromise could be found.
Is there a way to use the spray features without using the waiting area portion? Is that something that can be looked into?
Minarski councillor Ross Eady says the Norquay facility was one of the first wading pools the city built. Newer facilities have separate spray pads in wading pools, and that is something Eady says should be considered for Norquay.
It's pretty old now, so at some point, but there has to be money in the budget, it's probably time we replaced it with a pure spray pad. And then you don't need the lifeguard.
But Eady says there's a demand for spray pads all over the city, and it could be a decade or more before Norquay gets a new one. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
We are learning more about that crash involving a police car and a pickup truck that sent 2 officers to hospital. Winnipeg police say the truck had been stolen from Stonewall 4 days earlier. A police cruiser collided with the truck on Main at Belmont around 4 yesterday morning. Police say additional officers on the scene tried to take the driver into custody, but he tried to get away from them. A 25-year-old man faces numerous charges, including failing to comply with conditions of his release. The 2 injured police officers remain in hospital. Manitoba's election is 4 months away, but a series of attack ads is already raising eyebrows. As CBC's Bartley Kivas reports, the group responsible for these ads is based outside Manitoba's borders.
In Winnipeg, you may have noticed billboards like this, or you may have received this image via text. Both are ads comparing Manitoba NDP leader Wab Kinew to Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh. The text messages also call Kinew a convicted criminal.
Frankly, the ad is filled with disgusting attacks, and we know that the PCs can't run on their record, so they're going to run on a campaign of making these types of personal attacks.
The Manitoba Progressive Conservatives aren't behind these ads. The group responsible is the Canada Growth Council. According to corporate records, it's based in Regina. Its directors have ties to the Saskatchewan Party.
You know those Russian dolls where you take the lid off and there's another one? It's like that, but with conservative front groups.
Dougald Lamont first raised concerns about the Canada Growth Council in May. He believes the PCs are sharing intel with a third-party group.
How is it that an organization called the Canadian Growth Council in Saskatchewan has 20 years worth of opposition research on Manitoba NDP MLAs and has all the same talking points as the PCs?
Conservatives in this province say they played no role in attack ads from Conservatives in the province next door.
I have no knowledge of any interaction at all.
Manitoba's premier says she received the text and deleted it.
Yeah, I did, but I received so many messages, and but and it is what it is. But I did not, look at it one way or the other than deleted it.
The third-party groups can advertise during this election campaign, but as of yesterday, they had to register with Elections Manitoba. The Canada Growth Council didn't do that. This has led the NDP to file 2 complaints about the ads with Elections Manitoba.
Manitobans want free, open and fair elections, but instead what we're seeing is this big money, third-party, out-of-province organization, advertiser, spending thousands and thousands of dollars on billboards and advertisements.
Political scientist Roy Scoop says because negative ads can backfire, political parties can take cover from any backlash if they can get a third-party group to launch attacks.
There's no real danger of it hurting the Premier if their campaign can demonstrate there's distance between them and the people making the attacks.
CBC News reached out to the Canada Growth Council but didn't hear back. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The province of Manitoba will give the city of Winnipeg $700,000 to do a feasibility study on extending the Chief Peguis Trail. If this project happens, it would see Chief Peguis extended to Route 90 at an estimated cost of close to $600 million. The provincial money represents about half the cost of the study. Mayor Scott Gillingham welcomes this support from the province. He says it's been a priority for people who live in the northwest Winnipeg.
It will give them easier access to places like the airport, major employment areas, and community facilities like Kildonan Park. And second, it will improve safety and the quality of life by getting heavy trucks off of and away from residential neighborhoods in the northwest part of Winnipeg.
Gillingham points out the idea of a major route in the area has been discussed as far back as 1963. Community groups in Winnipeg say there is still a shortage of the life-saving drug Naloxone. Naloxone kits can reverse the effects of a drug overdose. Some groups who hand out Naloxone kits say the supply isn't consistent. Cynthia Gerbeau is with the North End Women's Resource Centre. She says her centre has become a drug consumption site by default because of a poison drug supply and a lack of safe sites.
In a matter of 4 days last week, our staff revived 5 people from death and then 2 more times this week. We are at a point of responding almost daily to drug poisonings and overdoses at the center.
The province says a brief supply issue delayed some orders. Last year, at least 418 Manitobans died of suspected drug-related deaths. Meteorologist John Sauter joins us now. It's become a thing this week that this time of the day, you're watching severe storms, mostly out west.
Mostly out west, you're right. Severe thunderstorm watches issued before I even get to work in the morning, and then the warnings start popping up. And yeah, 4th day in a row that we're seeing this. Have a look at the radar and satellite first, and you can see where the action is and where it has been over the last few hours. And that gives us an idea that it's all moving in sort of a northwest to southeast direction. So the hot spots today have been, again, the Riding Mountain area. And I'm going to show you a picture from the storms there that happened earlier this afternoon. That area is now clearing, but look at the lightning tracking here. And this also shows us where the watch and the warning is. So this larger shaded area is the severe thunderstorm watch, where conditions are ripe for the formation of some severe storms. And then these yellow shaded areas, those are the severe thunderstorm warnings, and that's where storms are happening now. So a couple of hours ago, we started to see these ones up around Fairford and near Ericsdale forming. I think this one near Ericsdale or east of there is now weakening, but this whole area is in a severe thunderstorm warning. And then we go back down to areas right around Deloraine and Melita. Now, no warning in effect right now because the heavier storms are now moving south of the border, but we go a little bit farther to the east, and we've got a warning right around the Pilot Mound area, and you can see that cell right there, right over Pilot Mound right now, is dropping heavy rain, likely some pretty large hail, and there's plenty of lightning with this, and there's potential for wind gusts here of 90 to 100 kilometers per hour. Not much so far in the Winnipeg area, just west of us around Portage, seeing a few sprinkles. Kevin saw this earlier today. So this is east of Inglis, just south of Grandview, but that's what the clouds look like. He also showed me some video on Facebook, and the rain was just so heavy and filling the fields with water. That's the thing about this week. We've seen some fields not getting very much at all, and other fields not just getting rain, but damaging hail. So winds have gone calm now. We're at 26 degrees, relative humidity at 57%. This is all going to continue to move down to the south and east tonight. May still see a shower or storm here in the Winnipeg area, but that chance, I think, by this point is very slight. And then tomorrow, this is middle of the day, and the forecast models have been popping up with this little cell that moves right through the Red River Valley in the afternoon. So I don't think it's worth canceling anything over. I think it'll be very isolated and short-lived. And then on into the afternoon, we get some action out in cottage areas out to the east, but that is gone by about supper time. And then as we get into the weekend, just very stable weather pattern, not just in the south, but in northern Manitoba as well, and not just Saturday, but Sunday as well. So we're looking at some sunshine and dry weather starting Friday late in the day, and then certainly on Saturday. 17 tonight, partly cloudy. The winds will shift and pick up tomorrow. They'll shift to the north at about 25 to 30 in the afternoon, more like 30 to 40 in the evening, and then nothing but sunshine on the weekend, and temperatures are seasonal or even warmer Sunday and Monday.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Janet.
The Winnipeg International Children's Festival kicked off today at the Forks. Performers and troops from around the country and around the world, in fact, will entertain audiences from today through Sunday afternoon. This afternoon, children of all ages had the chance to sing along with Fred Penner in the festival park tent. Hello, sir. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
How did the show go today?
It went very well. It's been it's been a year plus since we did the show, and they've got some new directions that the festival is going, and so the audience was great. And I think after this COVID world, the attendance was higher than I've seen in years. So that's fabulous news.
Are you a fan of this International Children's Festival?
I've been a fan of the festivals from the beginning. When that whole direction started evolving in the early 80s. The Vancouver Children's Festival was sort of the first that jumped on the wagon, and it got lots of support from Canada Council. And then other festivals evolved across the country in Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, and they've been going through transition, of course, over the years, and as entertainment has altered. But I think it's such a really important opportunity for families to get out of the house, to put the devices down, and to come in and just see real people doing real things, real talents. And I think it gives kids a different perspective on what life is all about.
Do you see a difference in your audiences in terms of that over the decades? I mean, The Cat Came Back it's 41 years old now. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But in those decades that you've been performing, do you notice a difference in the children now and their attention spans, and because of the devices?
It's hard to say. I think a little bit. You know, I know my own grandkids get distracted, and when they go out, I was just at a soccer game with that my 3-year-old grandson was at. And partway through it's not a real game. It's just kids running around. But he was getting tired, so he ran over to my daughter, his mom, and said, "Can I go on the phone? Can you put something on the phone for me?" And so they understand that these devices are entertainment modes, and if they get tired, if they want to just break away from it, this is an escape direction. So I think kids are learning that. And maybe getting into live events is going to turn them around or show them that there is an alternative to the devices. But we're in such turmoil in this world with where all the technology is going, and I don't know how it's going to unfold in the coming years. But it's a big sigh, and people have to pay attention.
Yeah, there you go. We're showing video right now of a younger Fred Penner with a device that has 6 strings on it. What would you say about the importance of simple music and of families and children getting out and enjoying simple music?
Yeah, that's really always been the key for me. It's when I started playing, 50 years ago, I made a real clear commitment that if I was going to do this, it would be me and my guitar, and I'd get up in front of a microphone and I would learn the songs and I would engage the audience as much as possible. And that purity, that pure simplicity of sharing a talent with an audience is the most important thing for me now. It's not flash. There's nothing unusual about it, but it's bringing people along on a very personal journey.
Well, we hope you continue enjoying this journey. And thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
My pleasure, very much. Thank you.
From simple music to dance, sometimes complex dance. Dance Manitoba celebrates the diverse cultural landscape of our province tonight with a showcase that takes us on a mini trip around the world. CBC's Jim Agapito is hosting tonight's event, and he joins us now live from the Franco-Manitoban Cultural Centre on Provencher. Jim, what's going on there?
Well, as you can see behind me, Jan, there are so many dancers just excited to perform tonight for the first ever cultural dance fair by who, Claire?
Dance Manitoba.
So this is my friend Claire Marshall. She's the interim director of Dance Manitoba, and she's very excited about this event. Tell me why.
Well, this is an event that Dance Manitoba has been wanting to do for a very long time, probably about 5 years. The dance community in this province is so large, and it's like a really big tree, and one really beautiful branch on that tree is the cultural dance community. Cultural dance is often the first time a young person is introduced to dance, and we wanted to take an opportunity to really focus and celebrate this particular sector of our dance community.
Okay, so we're going around the world in one evening.
Yes.
Give me some highlights. Break it down for us.
Well, we will go as east as China. We will go as south as Colombia. We'll go to Israel. We'll go to Ukraine. We'll go, oh my goodness, so many other places.
So many other places. Now, I'm wondering, what was the reaction? Because this is the first thing for Dance Manitoba. What was the reaction when you asked these groups to be a part of this?
Well, you know, Dance Manitoba has been connected to the cultural community for quite some time, but when we presented to them that we wanted to celebrate them specifically, it was a lot of groups rushed for the opportunity. Unfortunately, the time of year and the way in which some groups function, we weren't able to facilitate everyone, but we have 12 groups tonight that are really, really looking forward to performing, and it's a very dynamic show. It's going to be wonderful. I'm so excited.
Okay, I can see by the excitement on your face, Claire, you are so excited about this. You know, why is this so important for Manitoba?
Well, Manitoba has a very vast and diverse cultural community, and what better way to celebrate that is through art and dance. And there's so much talent here, and we just wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to perform, and others had the opportunity to see it.
Now, you've been here for a while, and I'm wondering, have you learned any new moves being here?
I will let you know that the stage manager and my colleague and I have been secretly trying out new moves backstage and trying to figure out the steps, and have built some really nice connections with some of these dancers and asking them to teach us how to do some of their beautiful work.
So I feel like that's something we might be able to do, Claire.
Right now?
Well, at some point, but for everyone out there, come down to the Franco-Manitoban Centre. The show starts at 7. You're in for a wild ride. Awesome dance from around the world. Thanks.
Thank you. Our Jim Agapito reporting live tonight from the Franco-Manitoban Cultural Centre. I'm a little disappointed they didn't dance for us. How about you? There are more than 400 wildfires burning across our country right now. 250 of them are out of control. And that smoke, holy moly, that's doing a lot of damage. We'll bring you the latest on all these stories after the break. Here in Manitoba, we have 14 wildfires burning, most of them east of Lake Winnipeg. 3 are considered out of control. Across the country, flames have destroyed more than 40,000 square kilometers of land across the country. That's an area about the size of Switzerland. 250 fires are burning out of control right now in Canada. Nearly 100 of them are in Quebec.
We have today 13,500 people that have been evacuated. We think that it'll be stable in the next few days.
Authorities say this is Quebec's worst fire season on record, and remember, it's only June 8th. Crews are arriving from the Atlantic provinces, the United States, and France to assist. Meantime, in Ontario, dozens of wildfires are burning there in the northern part of the province. On the west coast, BC is reporting more than 80 fires. Firefighters are battling 2 out-of-control fires east of Vancouver, and there's a blaze on Vancouver Island in Tantallon, Nova Scotia. The fires that destroyed homes near Halifax are now under control, and people are allowed back home. Meantime, that smoke is affecting air quality and visibility across large parts of our country. Millions of people are feeling the effects. CBC's Thomas Daigle has more on how people are coping.
In Canada's biggest city, pandemic face masks made a return as the smell of smoke filled the air.
I also bought eye drops because I got a really bad headache the other day while being outside.
The harmful haze drifting from wildfires, packing an almost invisible punch in Toronto. Though the danger couldn't always be seen, Environment Canada deemed the city's air posed a real risk to health.
Poor air quality, it sucks still.
Schools prepared for the worst, keeping kids inside for recess. This little one even volunteered to help fight the fires himself.
This is the particles that are in it that could be dangerous for the little lungs, so I think an indoor recess isn't going to hurt them.
Some ran out to buy an air purifier, leaving certain stores running low on stock. While golfers at the Canadian Open hit the links with those harmful particles lingering all day.
The amount that's coming from the wildfires at the moment is just completely overwhelming.
Professor Greg Evans monitors the air quality in his backyard and isn't going outside without a mask, based on the pollution he's seeing.
About 4 times higher than normal, which is a lot, but it's nowhere near as severe as what Ottawa and Kingston have been experiencing.
The national capital got to breathe a little easier with Ottawa's air quality finally improving after smoke blanketed the region for days. All the better now for this track meet.
Looks like it's cleared up a lot. It's kind of like a miracle.
The air quality may still worsen in Toronto, with forecasters warning of a very high risk to health on Friday. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
And all that smoke is also drifting south, blanketing parts of the northeastern United States in a thick haze. As Chris Reyes shows us, New York City is issuing N95 masks.
Over the last couple of days, New York City has had the worst air quality in the world, but conditions are improving, and the skyline behind me gives you a sense of that. This is downtown Manhattan on the East River, and you can very clearly make out the buildings, which was certainly not the case yesterday when the city was engulfed in this very thick smoke. The haze is not as thick today. There's a lingering smell of smoke, but it's not as strong. Some stinging in the eyes, and that's why you're still getting some urgent warnings from New York City's Mayor Eric Adams. He's telling residents to make sure that they limit their outdoor activities, to pick up an N95 mask at a local fire department, to definitely wear it if they're spending any prolonged time outdoors.
These crises that we're facing around our health is something we're going to have to deal with. Climate change is real, and we must be prepared as we are dealing with the issues that come from climate change.
This morning, flights were grounded at LaGuardia and Newark airports because of poor visibility, and even though that's been lifted, that happened yesterday as well, so there's now this backlog of delays. Take a look at this time lapse. You know, yesterday in New York City also started with just that foggy white haze over the city, and then progressively got worse and turned into this really deep orange. A lot of New Yorkers freaked out about that. If you take a look at the front page of the New York Post, over a photo of a hazy, orangey Manhattan, emblazoned in this big headline, it said, "Blame Canada. We talked to other New Yorkers for the reactions to these conditions.
It's distressing. It's very distressing. And as far as Canada, no, I don't blame Canada.
It was apocalyptic feeling. The orange and the almost steam, yesterday was crazy. Today is actually pretty nice, which is why I'm walking.
An air quality health advisory remains in effect for New York City until Thursday midnight. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
The Liberal government wants to make the hybrid work status in Parliament permanent, so it's tabled a change to the standing orders there. Since the pandemic started, members of Parliament have been allowed to debate, vote, and do committee work from outside of the House of Commons.
Over the last year or so, we've settled into a new normal where we've been able to use the hybrid provisions of Parliament and be able to ensure that the government is accountable and present, but also that members of Parliament have the flexibility to be able to be in their ridings for important life events or very important constituency events.
Mark Holland says that he believes 100 or 1,000 years from now, hybrid work situations will continue because he says they are the right thing to do. Some opposition MPs have complained, though, of problems with the voting app they must use and with translation services. Interesting to see the MPs doing that. The flooding that followed the breaching of a dam in Ukraine this week has killed at least 14 people so far. That's according to officials from both Ukraine and Russia. But today, rescue efforts were temporarily suspended. CBC's Chris Brown explains why.
As if having their homes flooded and their lives washed away wasn't grotesque enough, as these Ukrainians were being rescued, Russian artillery opened fire on them.
With the sheriff,
Ukraine's chief rabbi on a humanitarian mission to flooded Kherson was one of those forced to dive for cover.
Promote the river and the Russian
Ukraine claims 9 people were injured, but it may have been this man the guns were aiming for. President Volodymyr Zelensky visited rescuers and met with patients in a hospital. We will rebuild everything, he said. The enormity of the breaching of the dam, which was controlled by Russia, and Ukraine claims destroyed by Russia too, is still emerging, although the many thousands stuck on the South Russian-controlled side of the river appear to be the worst off.
People are really stranded in areas completely flooded without any means to leave.
One hazard are countless unearthed mines that could now wash up anywhere, along with oil, gas, and other pollutants, says this former Ukrainian environment minister.
We have evidence that some cemeteries were destroyed, and unfortunately, there is a great pollution as well.
A pollution from bodies.
Yes, I don't want to say it very loudly.
But even as the enormous rescue effort continued, so did the combat, and Ukraine's counteroffensive may be intensifying. And Russia's defense minister suggested battles are raging. The enemy attempted to attack, he claimed, but we destroyed 30 tanks in 2 hours. Bluster without a shred of proof. Whatever battles may be unfolding, Ukraine's government is staying silent about them, likely for strategic reasons, but also to keep the focus on the expanding humanitarian catastrophe. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
This next story has got details in it that you may find very upsetting. 4 toddlers have been critically wounded in a knife attack in the French Alps. The attack happened in this lakeside park in the town of Manitoba. Witnesses say a man stabbed 4 children, including at least one child who was inside a stroller. The children were between 22 months and 3 years old. 2 adults were also wounded in the attack. Police say the suspect is a 31-year-old male, a Syrian male who has refugee status in Sweden. His motives are unclear, but authorities indicate it doesn't appear to be terrorism related. It'll be the first of a kind for Winnipeg. Dozens of lights in the sky for Canada Day. It's not a fireworks show, it'll be a drone show that'll teach you some ancient wisdom. We'll tell you all about it after the break. The Forks released information about its Canada Day plans this week, and once again, no fireworks. But there will be something spectacular in the sky for you and your family to enjoy. Claire Mackay, the Chief Communities Officer of the Forks North Portage Partnership, joins us now. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
Now, before we get to that show in the sky, how has the Forks been working to reimagine Canada Day?
Well, I think, what people saw last year, we had 30,000 people on site join us last year, was an evolution of the conversation about Canada Day. So, we are acknowledging what our site's history is, our place in our community, and the stories that are important to tell. So what we began last year is what we are continuing this year. We've done a lot of community consultation through surveys, through Indigenous-led roundtables, and what you see this year is really well informed by what the public has asked us to do.
Which is what did they ask you to do specifically?
Well, specifically what they wanted, which is where the drone show comes in, is they asked for an element of celebration to end the evening. So that's where Wilfred Buck and his celestial teachings, which are ancient celestial teachings, are going to be partnered with really cutting edge technology with 100 drones. So think of sort of 100 colorful orbs of light that are going to move up into the sky and tell a story, which is, fireworks do tell a story, but not in this way. And we'll have, Wilfred is actually going to narrate the show as well, so you'll be able to hear that from all over the site. What we also heard was people were looking for more music. So we've brought back the idea of a stage. We're doing it in front of the Forks Market, and we have programming starting at noon, running until 10:30, and Manitoba Music has partnered with us to do that stage. Plus, we'll have stuff, what we learned from last year is people loved that we used the entire site. We had used our site before, but we've never used it in quite the way we did last year. There'll be soccer games, there'll be beading workshops, tours, picnic tables, food trucks, pretty much anything you can think of that you would like to do on Canada Day will be here for you. And you'll be able to sort of choose your own adventure as you move through the day.
Choose your own adventure. We're showing a bit of an adventure right now. You're working with the company North Star Drone Shows to create this telling of how the constellations came to be from the ancient knowledge of our Indigenous peoples. Wilfred Buck will do this. We're showing video right now from that same company. It's showing right now a big smiley face. But on Canada Day, Wilfred Buck will be telling about the North Star.
Yeah,
right?
It's a story that pretty much everybody. Yeah, it's a story that pretty much everybody has some connection to. We've learned about it in school. We've been to the planetarium to learn about constellations. And so this is Wilfred's ancient knowledge of, he's from a Passway Cree Nation. He speaks from a Cree voice. And so he tells us what ancient teachings talked about with the North Star. It doesn't move. It is the one star in the solar system that does not move, that is part of our orbit. And so telling that story of finding the North Star and the Big Dipper is really somewhat a universal story, but we're going to be putting his twist on it here.
Well, I think that's just fantastic. I called it the coming home star. It's called the going home star. And there's also something to encourage people to use their bicycles. Tell us what you're doing to keep people's bikes safe.
Yeah, we know that there will be a lot of people here on Canada Day. And so we really do encourage people to get here. Could be via transit, carpooling, car co-op, but we do have a bike valet that will be set up on our site, so you'll be able to safely leave your bike here as well.
Claire Mackay, thank you for your time today.
Thanks so much.
Meteorologist John Sauter joins us now. If you've never heard Wilfred Buck talk about the constellations and the Indigenous stories that Indigenous kids were told all their lives, it's really worth it.
I couldn't take my eyes off the drones. Like, that's just incredible technology.
It's cool what they can do, right?
It really is.
Yeah. We've got some storms in the southwest. How are they doing?
Yeah, well, they're still sort of raging down through the Pilot Mound area, and that's where we have a severe thunderstorm warning right now. Have a look at this map, and you can see the last few hours of movement of the storms, and the ones up in the Interlake as well. But this Pilot Mound area is really getting hit pretty hard right now with some heavy rain up to the north through the Eriksdale area, Fairford. The warning is now farther to the north, so the Eriksdale storm, as I showed you a few minutes ago, is kind of weakening, but the heavy rain is right around that Pilot Mound area, heading over toward Morden, but may slip to the south of the border before reaching Morden and Winkler. So these are the areas we're watching right now. Winnipeg, not a drop today, not at all, or east of Winnipeg. Temperatures getting to right where we thought, 26, 27 degrees, mid-20s everywhere else, and out to areas around Melita where we've seen some rain. The last reported temperature was 19, still 27 in Morden and Winkler. And you know what happens when these storms roll over you? The rain actually drags that cold air out of the upper levels, and it can drop your temperature by 7 or 8 degrees just instantaneously, really. So prepare for some cooler temperatures through the evening when it starts to rain in these areas. Otherwise, we are mid to upper 20s through most of the south. The north looks like this, 24 to 25 in the west around Flin Flon, the Paw, Norway House, Thompson as well. 18 right now in Churchill, but a cooler day on the way for Churchill tomorrow. There's the cloud associated with those heavier storms. Not much here in the Red River Valley, and we have a chance tonight of some of this moving into areas like Kenora and Red Lake and Dryden, and maybe a chance tomorrow afternoon as well. Here tonight, we're looking at a chance of a shower or a storm that would be early evening, and I think the chance here in Winnipeg is very slight. Same with Steinbach. And then as we move out to the west, we have the storms that I just showed you. Overnight lows in the mid-teens. Northern Manitoba, pretty quiet weather tonight, a little windy around Churchill, a low of 6. Tomorrow, Churchill's high just 9 or 10, but low 20s in the west, a sunny 18 in Thompson. Across the south tomorrow will be generally sunny. And then temperatures seasonal around Swan River, Dauphin, Brandon at 26. A slight chance of a midday shower right around the Red River Valley and south, and we could see some of that around Steinbach, but that's 30% or less, more like a 40% chance of showers or storms in the afternoon in northwestern Ontario.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Well, this is Bike Week here in Winnipeg, and that got CBC's Marcy Marcusa, host of Information Radio in the morning, thinking about getting a new set of wheels. But bicycles have changed a lot since most of us were kids, so she went to find an expert to learn what you need to look for when trading up to a new bike.
So I've been thinking that maybe I should get a bike. I've been a bit of a pandemic potato, maybe you have as well, but it dawned on me that it's been so many years I don't know how to get fit for a bike. So today we have someone that's going to help us. This is Brett Zagazewski. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us here. So Brett's the owner of Bikes and Beyond here in Elmwood on Henderson Highway, and you claim that you can fit me for a bike, and there's really 3 main things that people should understand about that, right?
Yeah. Kind of 3 key areas that we like to look at when we're getting people on their bike is their feet, the seat, and their hands. Okay. Bikes can be kind of tailored for the individual, so we're not all stuck riding the same bike. Yep. Because we're all different. So bikes, like I mentioned, come in different sizes. So based off your height, we've kind of pre-selected a size. We've gone with the size small in this case. What we're really looking for with the feet, if people are using a shoe that clips into the pedal, so a little more higher performance pedal and shoe.
That's not me. I'm not high performance.
So with that, we're looking for good cleat positioning, so the foot's in the right spot. For a lot of people, though, we're looking for, are they in good footwear? Some people end up pedaling on their heels. That's not great. You want your ball of the foot right over the pedal axle, so right where you are there. So we've kind of addressed the feet. Yep. Now we'll address the seat. Basic kind of starting point. We just kind of want to make the seat in around the hip level. And this is just as a very vague starting point. So now we'll just get you to stop with your pedal right at the bottom. We'll use this side here. We'll stop right there at the bottom. And then we'll get you to put so you can see here with your ball of the foot, you have a nice little bend in your knee. Yep. But if we were to move your heel onto the pedal. Like this? Right there. Okay. And have it at the bottom. Now we see the legs straighter. So that's kind of the other sort of rough measurement we can do for seat height. We'll get you now onto the handlebar. What we're looking for is from the center of the bike, where the bottom bracket, where the cranks go through the frame, is that when we come up, that it's just towards the bottom of your scapula.
Got it.
Yeah. if that center line was up in the front of the shoulder, then we're a little too far upright.
Got it.
And then if it was way down by your spine, you're racing. What we're looking for is actually comfort. So if you go out and ride the bike and come back, say my hands are going numb, I'm sliding around in my grip, there's definitely some changes we can make.
Is this little piece here that pops out, instead of being just cylindrical all the way down, it kind of angles out, and that helps me from sliding back and forth. It leaves my wrist in the right position.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for showing us this today, and for bike. Thank you for the bike. I really appreciate it. I know I'm not taking the bike. Seriously, thank you. Good luck with your business.
Thank you so much.
231 calls for justice came from the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. One of those calls was for journalists to do a better job of reporting those stories. With that in mind, another installment of Mother, Sister, Daughter after the break. We've been bringing you stories this week that speak to the progress made in the 4 years since the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls issued its report calling for change. Tonight, we hear from two sisters who say news coverage about missing and murdered women can make things worse for their families, and the journalists must do better.
My name is Jerry Lee Pengman. I'm from Peguis First Nation.
My name's Kim McPherson. I'm from Peguis as well.
We're here to honor our sister Jennifer Dawn McPherson.
She was 41 when she was taken from us. She was a carefree spirit, beautiful. She was creative. She was living in BC with her husband, the perpetrator at the time. I'll just call him perpetrator. She was missing for a while. The RCMP helped to solve the case of Myrna Latondra missing, who was missing for 6 years.
Yeah, because when he admitted to killing our sister, he actually admitted to Myrna as well. So,
and it wasn't even the police that told us that link there, that he had killed somebody else. It was actually a reporter that told us that. I just feel so bad for what happened to Myrna's family.
And it was such a short time because my sister met him in January and Myrna went missing in October. So that was only 3 months. So like he took Myrna's life and then met my sister 3 months after that. Moved her into the same house. And I believe like if the police did their job, her DNA was so fresh in that house because he murdered her in that house. Her DNA was everywhere. So if they took the family serious, you know, they begged the police, they told them, you gotta go and question him, but they wouldn't go.
You know, it's just, oh, another Indigenous woman that's missing, and oh, she's this, she's that. And even when our sister went missing and they were different media were reporting it, they were describing my sister as a prostitute. And I remember calling one of them, I'm like, how could you describe my sister as a prostitute? Oh, well, that's what we heard. And I'm like, you don't even have the facts. Like, take that out. It's so disrespectful. It's just, how can you be a journalist or a media person if that's what you're going to do? So that needs to change. I mean, she was a mother, she was a daughter, she was our sister, you know.
Just disregard, no sense of empathy. You know, even when we found out how she was taken, I read it on an article. I don't know which article it was, but they shared every single detail of what he did, how he took her life. He recorded her death. It was so like devastating, and I will never heal from that. I'm traumatized forever. Just to actually have to read that without being told ahead of time, this is what's going to be released onto the media.
You know, yeah, so journalists need to be trained properly. They need to take something on trauma informed when they're dealing with writing stories about things like this. Yeah, I mean, like, they're a voice. And when families go through crisis, sometimes it's hard to use your voice. So journalists, you have an opportunity to be the family's voice. Use it, you know, it's like, hey, something is wrong in our society. These calls for justice aren't happening.
We'll be right back.
It does something to a person when the Crown say, I do believe you, but we're not going to secure a conviction, so we can't move forward.
We need to move beyond acknowledgement, and we need to act.
Well, that severe thunderstorm warning near Pilot Mound has ended. These storms are starting to slip south of the border. We still have the one in effect up near Fairford. All of this moving in a southeasterly direction. Wanted to point this out because our UV ratings have been 8s and 9s this week. It's an 8 tomorrow, and we're going to have plenty of sunshine tomorrow and right through the weekend. Temperatures a little cooler on Saturday, but back to 26 on Sunday. And you can see next week we're 29s and 30s. My next mention of some organized showers would be Thursday next week. I like tiger cubs.
Yeah, who doesn't?
They're cubs. Two of them made a big splash yesterday.
They would, right? They attended their first swimming lesson in a London zoo. This is going to be cute. Here's your Daily Lift. Zach and Crispin pounced on plastic balls in the water as their proud parents looked on. Zookeepers got the pond ready for swimming by clearing it of leaves and bark chips, which had accumulated over the winter. But really, you know, they're tigers. Would they have minded? These two are Sumatran tigers. They're considered an endangered species. There are now only a few hundred of them in the wild, and instinctively, they probably would be good swimmers, wouldn't they be?
I don't know.
Certainly.
The cats like water?
Okay, these cats, but wouldn't they?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Probably.
Probably
good swimmers.
Yeah.
Okay, last night I said hockey was coming up. Didn't happen. It's happening tonight, right now.
Hockey is coming up.
Game 3.
Now. Game 3 now. Bye.